What's going on? Boys, thanks to our patrons and Fiverr customers, subscribe to our Patreon free for behind the scenes stuff. Arm yourselves, life stuff. This one will be short because it's more of an addendum to the last video. I thought more about the loser young dude thing because I still feel like there's something there I'm not wording correctly. And what I think it is Peter Pan syndrome, but in the id or ego way. The toddler that never learns the world doesn't revolve around him and then carries that into adulthood. And of all the sorts of videos I make, loser young dude videos are up there with the most disliked among INFJ videos. Because they all think you're talking about them personally, even if you've never interacted. And where different sorts of people, if they hear videos like that hit close, they have some awareness they are not being talked about directly or personally. That's the other thing, personally, because they know the world doesn't revolve around them. These dudes think they are being personally and specifically attacked, again, even if you have no idea who they are, and then they will not drop it. And I think what you've done is you've hurt their ego. You've hurt their assumption everything revolves around them. I made that last video in response to one of these dudes, and then I get contacted by another one spurging out, assuming I was talking about him. Because they're all the same person, and their lives. This is what I mean when I say they're empty people. For them, life is like walking through a minefield because they are always at risk of stepping on a landmine of reality and learning, no, the world doesn't revolve around them. Because here's the thing this sort of dude always does. They expect to be treated as friends and equals, as if you are on the same footing. But you aren't. Not with you, and probably not with most people. Let's think about those two things. Equals and buddies. What have you accomplished in your life? With this sort of dude, it'll always be almost nothing. Because, see, they're kind of stupid, and they're lazy, and on some level they know that, but they don't want to do anything about it. One, because that would take work, but two, and probably more important, to get anywhere, they would need to acknowledge the fact they are not good enough, or smart enough, or motivated enough as they are now. And they can't do that, right? So they do one of two things. Either they will enter a competition and then complain that it's rigged when they lose, and they should have lost, or they hole up and don't do anything because they both don't want to change and also know they can't win doing what they do in exactly the way they do it forever. And I wish more people, would do YouTube so they can deal with this sort of loser fucking dude. Because what happens when you make videos like this, or what happens when you don't acknowledge them as the peer, or even superior in some cases, they believe themselves to be? You wound their ego and become a scapegoat. You'd think they were scorned homosexuals who had been dating you with how they act, and you don't know who they are. And it's the thinking you are talking about them specifically that shocks me. And that's probably worse for the validation wound, or the daddy wound, or the mommy wound, because they aren't unique or special. They aren't some hidden intellect. I can make a video like this, and you can feel I'm talking about you specifically, not because I'm talking about you specifically, but because your sort of person, the way your sort of person acts, is that common. You spend every day thinking you're some hidden genius and people just don't understand, like the hundreds of thousands of others reacting to the same validation problem in exactly the same way. And that's another thing, so I'm not mistaken. I'm not attacking people who have validation wounds, or daddy issues or mommy issues. I have daddy issues. I'm attacking the gay flavored, loser, scorned reaction you have to your circumstances and to people who don't want to give you something you don't deserve. But see, here's the thing. You are a basically dependent person. I think that's why they're obsessive in the way they are. They have zero capability of trusting themselves. In the same way, a toddler has zero or almost zero capability of walking independently. I was thinking about this. Do you have it in you to burn everything down if you needed to? Do you believe in yourself enough to start over from nothing if you needed to in order to maintain your integrity or your vision? These dudes can't. That's why they're obsessive. That's why they can't drop things. They feel they have nothing else and can't build anything else. And to be frank, they probably can't. But that's why they make it your problem. And that's why they're so wounded when you treat them the way they deserve to be treated. Because you are confirming for them, yes, you are incapable of doing anything. You are lacking internally and probably fundamentally. You'll probably be like this your entire life. Because this idea that you're supposed to be this or that is your pacifier and you can't live without it, so you'll never assess what you are and what you could be and do anything about it. I'm not a big fan of tech or politics, and I don't know the context, but I watched there was a clip. Do you remember when this dude, some fucking nobody, gave this canned scripted, it's the sentimental thing, like he got this from a movie, stands up and gives this movie speech to Elon Musk asking him, just give me a chance. And then he gets escorted out because he's a fucking nobody. He's living in a movie, and it's his movie, and everyone else, they're all actors in this fucking literally who's movie. And then he gets disregarded as he should. That's you. You should feel embarrassed, and then you should do something about it. And then to close out a different sort of person, deal with this sort of person pretty regularly. Or not as regularly, but enough over the years. You're painfully stupid, and you're vermin-like. We'll make a longer video about this later today, maybe. But you have a similar problem, and it's a control problem. You don't know how to get what you want, so you try to nice your way into what you want. This second sort of dude loves this former category of loser dude, because loser dudes are their prime targets. Because loser dudes, if you're predatory, and that's what this second sort of dude is, they are very easy to control. You think I'm immoral, for telling these sorts of dudes to fuck off and grow up. Whereas you, with this control thing, with this little verminy thing, like keeping people in arrested development so you can control them better. And that would work, but the problem is you're so goddamn stupid. You know the phrase, you can't hustle a hustler? You can't parasitize a parasite, right? Like your ex you thought you were better than, telling yourself you have complete control of the situation and you're guiding the relationship, and in the end you get fucked over completely. There was nothing you did wrong there, of course. So, better to do the same thing again to different people than it is to look at yourself, say that you got fucked over or were stupid, painfully stupid, and adjust. It's too hard, not gonna happen. And I'm wondering if this is what it comes back to with most dumb sorts of people. The inability to recognize the fact they have no idea what's going on or they don't know what to do, and most people don't. And they'll spend their entire lives playing these little games to cover these validation issues or these fears of lack of control, and they'll never get anywhere. Now, the one piece of solace in all this is they will torture themselves over the long term. It's almost like they want to be hit where they're most vulnerable. Not so they can change, but maybe so they can have something to freak out at or have an issue with so they can justify their not changing. I'm not sure, but they're in pain and they will have pain worse later, which is good. They deserve it. Sort of dude A, you keep embarrassing yourself. Sort of dude B, you keep paying for this sagely image of yourself by failing to manipulate really stupid people. See, that's the worst part of that. Nothing's worse than the sort of person who tries to position themselves as this knowing, guiding force while spending their time failing to pull off basic manipulation. It's a sad state of affairs. Like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you haven't.